Hello everyone, this is part 4 of What If Naruto Was a Genius with Kyuubi Powers, and I hope you guys enjoy this video and to like, to subscribe, to share, and check out the playlist, to see more comment down below. Now let's start the intro.
They call me a god. They call me a god. They call me a god.
Join my membership, the perks are great. It's in the description. Be sure to like and subscribe, it gives me more motivation. Enjoy. It was the morning of the 5th day in their week off. Naruto was enjoying the indoor lake, as Hinata used its waters for training purposes. Shield of water no jutsu. She cried as a dome of water surrounded her. A nearby shadow clone threw a shuriken at her. It hit the water, and slowly began to sink to Hinata's feet. Mizu Bunshin no jutsu. Hinata yelled. The dome then formed into a water clone. They both charged the shadow clone, which started to defend herself against the original and the water clone. The shadow clone then destroyed the water clone, leaving nothing but a puddle. Hinata performed 3 cartwheels backwards, giving her enough space to begin another jutsu. Her hands went through the practiced hand signs, as she began another jutsu. Blade of water no jutsu. Hinata launched an arc of water toward the shadow clone. The clone jumped over the arc, and pulled out a kunai. Encasing ice boots no jutsu. The shadow clone suddenly found herself stuck to the ground by ice boots. Hinata began her second original jutsu, disintegrating water bullet no jutsu. A stream of water launched from the lake and gushed toward the shadow clone. If the clone had been a real person, his outer torso would have been shredded to pieces. You know, you really should learn some non-water based ninjutsus. Naruto said as he came onto the synthetic shore. And why is that? Hinata asked as she adjusted her one-piece bathing suit. What on earth would you do if there wasn't a lake nearby? I don't know, bring water with me, maybe. So what, you're going to wear a water gourd on your back like Gaara? It would ruin your figure. He spread out a towel and sat down on it, waiting to dry. Well, what do you suggest? She asked as she sat down next to him. Well, I've taught you the Rasengan, so why not some other Namikaze jutsus? After all, we have a whole library downstairs. You know what? I'd like that. She leaned in and kissed him. Naruto kissed back. Naruto sighed. I love you. I love you too. Hey, I know you've told me 1,000 times, but could you tell me when you first fell in love with me, one more time? Naruto sighed in mock exasperation. Fine. Then he smiled. It was 12 years ago, when we first met. Flashback. A young boy was walking along a lonely pathway in the park, his smiling face shining. But it was his eyes that betrayed his thoughts. Stupid orphanage, can't even tell the difference between a fox and boy. He continued on his way, barely noticing the little girl on the swings, until the scent of lilacs floated under his nose. He turned to see where the smell had come from, and his heart went soaring. Her pale lavender eyes, along with her short-cropped midnight hair, reflected the light in such a way as to make her look like an angel. Naruto turned away. He couldn't afford to fall in love. He couldn't let the villagers hurt someone else because of him, especially for something as trivial as love. Yet, he couldn't stop himself for giving her a second glance. That was all his heart needed. Later that night, Naruto was haunted by dreams of a beautiful girl who smelled like lilacs. After 3 days of these dreams, Naruto couldn't take it anymore. I've got to know who she is, he said to himself that night. He snuck into the library the next night, using the daytime hours to plan his way in, and researched everyone with pale eyes. Here he learned of the Byakugan. After learning of the Byakugan was the Kenkei Genkai of the Hyuga clan, Naruto immediately narrowed his search to Hyugas. The more he learned about the family, the more he began to love the girl. Finally, after weeks of research, Naruto got a name, Hinata Hyuga. The name itself sounded like a chorus of angels. Flashback end. When I found my father's box, 4 years later, I discovered in it a letter that said we were engaged. I was ecstatic. The most beautiful person in the world was promised to me, if she would have me. Naruto looked into the lavender eyes. When I first discovered you watching me, my heart started to jump for joy, and I began to love you back with every fiber of my being. But you could never show it because of the villagers. Hinata said from memory, saying the sentence for her boyfriend. No, I couldn't. If you were to be the object of my affections, then if you did the slightest thing wrong against the village, they would want nothing less than your head. So I had to keep them off track and I began to follow Sakura. When I saw you watching me even after I had went after her, I knew that you really did love me for who I was, and I couldn't thank you more for doing so. Later that day, Naruto, Hinata and Kyuubi were all looking for some good ninjutsu for Hinata. They began looking at many of the wind jutsus the Namikaze have. Hinata had developed a second affinity for wind during her training with Naruto. This made it easier for her, especially since the Namikaze's family jutsus were almost entirely wind-based. Okay, let's try this one, Naruto said as he handed a scroll to Hinata. The Vortex Punch no Jutsu. Hinata said as she read out loud, B-rank ninjutsu that creates a powerful vacuum around the user's fist which attracts any item, or person, in a 2-foot radius. The jutsu increases the force of the punch, giving the illusion of super strength. It can also be used to grab an item that is just out of reach. Hinata looked over the technical terms, the hand signs, and the needed shape of the wind to create the vacuum. I'll try it out, see how it suits me, Hinata said. Okay then, Q, add it to the list, Naruto said, and then he turned to his fiancée, another scroll in hand. How about this one? He asked, handing her the scroll. Kei's no Yaiba. A rank ninjutsu. This jutsu creates a blade out of wind which, being wind, makes it impossible to block. However, unlike the Kamaitake no jutsu, this jutsu requires no tool. This one sounds very promising, Hinata said as she looked it over. Do you think that's enough? Naruto asked her. It better be enough, Kyuubi said. Naruto and Hinata both looked over at him. He had 10 scrolls piled in his arms. Yeah, I think it's enough, Hinata said to him. Good. I'll see you tomorrow. I'm going to bed. Hinata looked at him with a confused expression. Naruto replied by simply pointing to the clock he had set up in the room. Its face read 10 p.m. Already, she asked herself. Over the next 2 days, Hinata tirelessly trained with her new jutsus. At the end of the second day, she had decided to keep 4 of them, the Vortex Punch, the Kei's no Yaiba, the Whirlwind of Kunai, and its more powerful sister jutsu, the Great Whirlwind of Kunai. And then the Hokage called them to her office. Kyuubi, Hinata, and Naruto dressed in their ninja gear, each with a kunai holder filled to the brink with weapons, and the fox blade at Naruto's side. They entered her office, and she made a half scowl. There was silence for a minute. The Tsunade began. You may have won our bet, but you're still going to have to prove yourself as a team before you even think about getting a mission on yourself. Naruto reverted to his mask's face. What? How on earth are we supposed to do anything when we can't even reach our full potential? Calm down, Naruto, Hinata scolded her boyfriend. She probably has a good reason for holding us back. Tsunade sighed, while Sarutobi slightly thanked the heavens for not having to deal with this headache. Luckily, the third teammate stepped in. Shut up, the both of you. Geez, you're like a couple of kids. She's testing our abilities as a team, how we work together as a team and how we work with other teams. The 2 teammates looked at each other, and then at the reigning Hokage, who simply nodded. Apparently, you're the brains of the team, Tsunade said to Kyuubi. Kyuubi smiled and replied, I like to think so anyway. Okay, so who are we paired with? Naruto asked, deciding to go along with the idea. You're going with Team 8 on a C-rank reconnaissance mission. Okay, so where are they? They'll be here shortly. Naruto got a huge grin on his face. Then would you mind if we disappeared for a sec? Kiba walked into the Hokage's office. He was barely there as he listlessly listened to the Sannin. Then something caught his attention. Your team will be paired with the newly formed Team Fox, who have disappeared for a second but will be back shortly. As soon as she said the words, the office was covered in smoke. A howl sounded in the distance, when suddenly, a horse-sized 6-tailed fox appeared. He gave a loud roar, which nearly deafened everyone in the room. Then they heard a crazed laughter. They looked and saw Naruto riding on its head, laughing his head off. Suddenly, behind them, they felt a huge release of king intent. They turned and saw a huge image of a 9-tailed fox. Shino turned back just in time to see their late teammate step out of a lilac blossom. Was that short enough, Hokage-sama? Naruto asked as the fox he was riding disappeared in a puff of smoke. Very impressive, highly original, don't do it again, Tsunade said. Hey Q. Hinata asked as the boss fox walked over, you really need to go last next time, only one of them barely saw my entrance. Well, excuse me, Kyuubi said, sarcasm de-sping from his voice. Hinata let it drop, and decided to say hi to her former teammates. Hi Shino, Kiba. It looks like we'll get a couple of more missions together. Naruto looked at him, evaluating them. Shino would be okay to work with, he was cool and level-headed. Kiba on the other hand, would be impossible. There's no telling how he would act, especially if he was still sore after the Chunin exam prelims. Oh well, I'll just beat him again if he's too much trouble. Akamaru and Kyuubi were acting like the canines they were and sniffing at each other. Thankfully, Kyuubi at least had the decency to change into a smaller version of his fox form, so it didn't make it look too weird. Kurenai looked at the scene of the two teams temporarily joining. She foresaw many headaches. Alright, we'll take care of the formalities later, you have 1 hour to get ready, meet at the village gate. Naruto said, I'll be there. Then he shunshined away, quickly followed by Hinata and Kyuubi. Kurenai, I'll expect a full report on how their team interacts with yours, Tsunade said, happy hunting. She nodded and escorted her team out. Tsunade put her hands to her forehead. Why did I take this job again? Sabutori sighed. You wanted to see this young man who has guaranteed himself the title of Hokage, and how you wanted the honor of being the one to hand him the Hokage's hat. Tsunade grunted. What on earth was I thinking? Naruto was packing the usual stuff, clothes, ramen, weapons, ramen, toiletries, ramen, a book for the TS, ramen, oh, and did I mention ramen? Finally, after being satisfied with his pack, he walked into the hallway and waited for his future wife. She came out with her own bag, while Kyuubi just walked out of his room. When you have as much spiritual power that Kyuubi had, you don't really need anything. They headed out to the gate and they waited for the others to get there. Kiba, Kurenai, and Shino all came around at the designated time. Okay, Kurenai said, our target is a meeting with a Kumo Chunin and an Iwa Chunin. We are not to interfere with the meeting, but if they attack, we have permission to take him out. Good. I haven't had a good tasting Iwa Nin in the last 20 years. Kyuubi said. Kiba looked at the fox with a newfound fear in his eyes. This guy ate people. Okay then, let's get going. Naruto said as he picked up his bag. You heard him, Hinata said, pushing her former teammates ahead of her. Get going. Kurenai sighed. What have you done to my student, Naruto? Lovely day. Naruto mumbled as the party walked along the path through the forest. Kyuubi agreed with a grunt. Don't grunt, you sound like Sasuke when you grunt. Naruto told him. Needless to say, Kyuubi never grunted again. Hinata, meanwhile, was keeping a love-struck Kiba at bay. Come on, just one dinner. We don't even have to call it a date. No. Please. No. Pretty please. No. Oh come on, please. For the last time, no. Why not? Hinata sighed. You are aware that I'm engaged to Naruto, right? Kiba looked like the world had ended right there. Huh. I'm engaged to Naruto, have been since birth. Oh. Hinata smiled at him. Don't worry, I'm sure you'll find a nice girl one day. It just won't be me. Hinata went up to catch up with her boyfriend. I told you she wouldn't go on a date with you. Shino said to Kiba. Shut up, bug boy. Kiba growled. Even though no one could see it, Shino was smiling underneath his large coat. It wasn't long after Kiba realized his love interest can't and wouldn't give him the light of day, he began a rather one-sided, if that, contest against Naruto to outdo him in any way, shape, or form. Kiba threw a kunai at a nearby tree branch, and clipped off a leaf. Beat that, fox boy. Naruto looked at him. What did you do? Kiba sweat dropped. I hit a leaf off a branch, with a kunai. Only one. Ha. Naruto lazily threw a kwani up into the air. It whizzed past a couple of branches, then stuck itself into a tree branch. Naruto made a shadow clone and sent it after the knife. Once the clone returned, he lifted it back up to reveal 5 leaves pinned to the tip. Like I said, only one. Kiba shut up and began to look for something else he could try to outdo Naruto in. Meanwhile, Kyuubi and Akamaru were discussing how some humans the most impossible beings to deal with. Needless to say, they both agreed. Later that night, as the party sat around the campfire, Kyuubi served dinner. It was enjoyed by everyone, except Naruto and Hinata, who lovingly shared a cup of, I'll give you 3 guesses, ramen. Kyuubi's dish was a fillet of some kind of meat, some vegetables, and rice. They sat down and thanked Kyuubi for the dinner. While trying to ignore the slurping out of feeting out offcussing of the couple over to the right, they enjoyed their meal greatly. Hey Kyuubi, asked Kiba, what is this? Kyuubi got a big smile on his face. Well, it's a secret kitsune recipe. It's rice, carrots, celery, and dog meat spiced with. Kyuubi was suddenly interrupted by Kiba trying to spit the food out as fast as possible. Ack, puffed, get it out, puffed, get it out, aka Maru, where are you? The other 2 members of Team 8 suddenly realized that the presence of said canine companion was missing. They both turned white and looked down at their plates. Kiba was frantically looking around while Naruto, Kyuubi, and Hinata looked like they were about to burst into holding your gut laugh until it hurts kind of laughs. Finally, they couldn't take it anymore. Oh, that's rich. Oh, Kiba was about ready to pound them. He grabbed the laughing Naruto by the collar. What's so funny, Namikaze? It's haha, it's not dog meat. Ha, we played a joke on you, Kiba. Hinata said as she picked herself off the ground. BBB, but where's Akamaru? He's under the kit's coat. Kyuubi told them. Naruto then explained his words by deactivating a section of his coat that wasn't there before. Under that section of the coat was a large bulge, which walked out from it to reveal the large dog. Then slowly the new section of coat receded back to the main body of the coat. They looked at Naruto confused. The coat can change to my likening when I pump enough chakra into it, rather nice feature, actually. Well, I'm going to bed now. He stopped to kiss Hinata before going into the tent. Good night, my angel. The next day went much like the first. Kiba was trying to outdo Naruto and failing. Shino was enjoying watching his teammate fail so miserably, while Kurenai watched, and took note of Hinata's changes. At lunch, Kiba barely touched the food Kyuubi prepared and went to hunt for his own. After lunch they began their travels again. Halfway between lunch and dinner, Kurenai gave a hand signal, all of the teens that had been on Team 8 nodded, and Hinata whispered something into Kyuubi's ear. He nodded and sent a mental message to Naruto. We are approaching the target. Proceed in silence, and with caution. Naruto did so. They silently approached. Hinata had her Byakugan active, and was no doubt scanning the area. Kiba, Kyuubi, Akamaru, and Naruto were all sniffing the air, while Shino had sent some bugs forward. Naruto found a scent and began to cautiously follow it. Soon he was followed by his fellow sensitive smellers. They found 3 Kumo nins standing in a clearing. Kiba whistled the song of a sparrow, and soon Shino, Hinata, and Kurenai appeared next to them. Soon 3 Iwa nins appeared, coming out of the tree line. You better have a good reason for this as a meeting place. One of the Iwa nins complained to a Kumo nin. Shut up. Do you want every Konoha nin to hear you? Now come over here and I will tell you the plans. The 2 nins approached each other and began whispering to each other. None of the Konoha nins could hear them. Then suddenly, Naruto sped into invisibility. Hinata smiled and relaxed, her man would get the information. Suddenly, the Iwa nin back-fisted the air next to him, and Naruto, suddenly becoming visible, went flying to the ground. Impressive, Naruto said, lying there, how did you know I was there? I felt your footsteps, now prepare to S. The Iwa nin said. Then Naruto stood up, revealing the coat, and his other attire. The Iwa nin froze, recognizing the coat and the blonde hair. Why Yondaime? Naruto smiled, no, I'm much worse. Naruto then formed one of the jutsus that all Iwa nins feared. Rasengan. The Iwa Chunin had 1 second to think before his chest became nothing but dust. Now, who's next? Naruto asked. The Iwa nins broke for it, only to be intercepted by a 7-tailed fox with a huge sword. The last thing they did was scream. The fox came back into the clearing, carrying the heads of the Iwa nins. Thank you, Cloud. Cloud is owned by Square Enix, not me. Cloud grunted and disappeared in a puff of smoke. Naruto turned to the Kumo nins. Now, one of you gets to live. The other two will say horrible and painful death. If you answer my questions to my likening, I may change my mind. Which one of you would like to answer my first question? The Kumo Chunin charged, only to be caught in 2 rock-foot restraints. Okay, you'll be a good candidate. What is your rank? The Kumo nin glared at him, and began some hand signs. He never got to finish. Naruto shot him with a bolt of lightning chakra, knocking him out. Naruto looked at the other 2 Kumo nins. So no one's going to talk. I guess I'll just have to KU after the integration specialist has had his way. Both Kumo nins were suddenly knocked out, and the last thing they saw was a puff of smoke and a very scary man coming toward them. The 3 Kumo nins woke up in the most uncomfortable position, upside down. Naruto walked up to them, a shadow clone in his presence. So you've returned to the land of the living, how unfortunate for you. The shadow clone spoke up, since you guys woke up early. I guess I'll have to introduce you to the replacement interrogation specialist. The clone motioned to his real self. And here he is. The clone dispersed and Naruto got a sadistic smile on his face. Teammate Kyuubi was sitting around the campfire, eating and listening to the bone-chilling screams of the Kumo nins. Kiba shivered as another scream echoed through the woods. Geez, what on earth is he doing to them? Hinata drank a small cup of tea as she listened to her teammate's question. The Namakazes were excellent interrogation specialists. Naruto is simply reviving his clan's ideas, and as soon as I'm married to him, he'll be reviving the clan physically. Another scream. In fact, I remember one time where he created his own technique for tea. What happened? Kiba asked. Well, first let me begin by telling you that Naruto developed a new taijutsu, the Kyuubiken. Kyuubiken is like the Juken with Goken mixed together, so you have powerful Goken punches combined with the Juken chakra injection technique. Now that you know the history, it's time for the story. We were in the Forest of Death during our 4-year training mission and some idiot genin came at us looking for the scrolls Anko gave us. One of them had the nerve to hit on me. Hinata smiled at the memory. Naruto was so mad, he used a Kyuubiken strike to the guy's goods, and, if I believe correctly, there was so much chakra pumped into that attack they exploded. Kiba blinked. What exploded? He asked, wondering if he heard that right. His family jewels. A really high-pitched scream echoed amongst the trees. Kiba, if I were you, I thank heaven for being my teammate. Anything less and, well, let's just say your love life would have been very boring. Kiba took her up on that. All right, I'll talk. One bluest Kumo nin said, please, no more. One of his teammates, who had just recently lost the ability to speak, nodded, and mouthed the word please. The third was in too much pain to think, and simply rolled on the ground whimpering and holding on to the place where a very important part of his anatomy had been. Naruto looked at him. Okay, see you in the morning. They were all hit with a lightning bolt, and then they went unconscious. Naruto walked back into the camp. Kyuubi, heal them enough so they stop bleeding. Kyuubi nodded and went over to Naruto's handiwork. Said blonde-haired ninja sat down and said something they never would think of asking after doing what he did. Please pass the mashed potatoes and gravy. As soon as Team Fox and Team 8 came back to Konoha, they went directly to Hokage Tower. There they dropped off the more than eager to get away from Naruto Kumo nins with Ibiki, who was slightly bummed at having damaged goods, but took them nonetheless. Then Naruto, who was within hearing distance of the Kumo nins, said rather loudly, if they give you any trouble just call me. They were the easiest victims Ibiki ever had. They then went to the Hokage to report. To say the least, she wasn't exactly thrilled that the mission didn't go as planned, but was happy that they would know what Kumo and Iwa were up to. She paid them then dismissed them, except Kurenai, who was to tell her how well the two teams got along. They were surprisingly cooperative, and Naruto's many skills were greatly needed. In fact, if it were not a Iwa nin, Naruto would have probably heard everything and left unnoticed. Thank you Kurenai, you may go. Tsunade said. Kurenai bowed and left. As soon as the door closed, Sarutobi coughed. Tsunade looked very annoyed for a second. Yeah. Hold your horses, old man. She dug into one of her pockets and pulled out 100 ryo. I have the worst of luck, she said as she handed it to him. That will be all for this video. Be sure to like, subscribe, share, and comment down below for more videos. Goodbye.